So we'll be coming back right after that, and ultimately getting into our first particular sort of like not callers contribution, apologies. Aiming to come back right after the break, we'll be having Kanjengo on the air, specifically talking about some of the dimensions that cascade from the introduction that I've just now given to you into one of our core particular discussions. We'll be back right after this.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081 270 3727 or the office number 083 288 400. Eagle FM, the eye.
Lipuranengeno wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondo tutoingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna evitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado inawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamo ili nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora itatu imwe mbali heali nola natu heali mbali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu mbali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud. So
not fraud, it's a scandal.
Scandal.
Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person that does not have a capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura menace.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Lipuranengelo wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondo tutoingida ashike kapeno.
And coming back, dear listeners, there from the extended break, and primarily welcoming you back to, well, this being the Unpacking the Day. Well, you'll be in my company from 6 a.m. up and until 9 a.m. this morning. And also welcoming this morning onto the air, specifically for our discussion outline, primarily that we've got now going. Kanjengo, welcome, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Kanjengo, don't sound so laden with the sleep, my guy. You know.
No, bro, I left home already. Like I'm ready. It's just that.
Yeah.
It's just that yes, it's a new week.
Yeah.
It's a new week and looking ahead and looking at everything. So yeah.
Yeah. Kanjengo, we're looking at a discussion that I'm slightly keeping in the back of my pocket for the listeners, but back in last week, a particular notice came out specifically from the abattoir based in Marintal, unfortunately unveiling to its suppliers, which is its particular stakeholders, that they would have to close down. And the core reason that they gave there primarily was, unfortunately, consecutive losses that they made. If we look at this particular dimension, plus also connecting this to the article that we've got in the e-paper for this morning as well, the one about the Zambezi abattoir. Abattoirs in a key concern, whether you are a communal farmer or whether you're a commercial farmer, they play a key particular role specifically in connecting the farmer, who is a livestock farmer, to the customers or even the markets that the abattoir would be serving. We obviously see sort of like two negatives develop in the past week. Just help us understand primarily, these negative hits that the Namibian red meat production sectors are taking.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. And it's actually worth waking up to discussing and actually diving in these matters about the economic building, because if you get to have this news coming at the same time, like in a proximity of 2 weeks, and at the highest level you have our government, our officials talking about economic building. But in the proximity of 2 weeks, Dwight, you have one of the most strategic processes of beef closing down or not functioning.
Yeah.
Then it made one actually just to sit back and to say, what are we discussing with all this discussion happening? It's like literally we are contradicting ourselves, because Dwight, you cannot have a conversation at the Bank of Namibia like last week. And this is what the Bank of Namibia said, like the monetary policy can't do much right now. We need to discover, to enable, or to stimulate, or to find new avenue of growth. And here you have, in the proximity of 2 weeks, 2 abattoirs. The most important aspect of the beef value chain are the abattoirs. And you have, in the proximity of 2 weeks, one is closing down, the other one hasn't been operating for the past 2 months. So it's really, really not just it's crazy, it's so sad. Like, it's so sad and very, very difficult to comprehend to such a level that if our leaders are here preaching and giving speeches, if our economic facilitators are here having a high-level conversation about growing the economy, which economy are we growing? Who are we supporting? Who are we talking to? Which sector are we investing in with the necessary support? Because now, as a farmer who supply Marindal, who in the proximity of Maheke, we call it a cattle country, If I'm not mistaken, Marindal is in Marindal is in Chupa, right?
No. Hardap. Sorry, Kanjanga.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
Good.
but if we obviously look at the distances, they each play their strategic roles.
And they feed the Khobabis and they feed everybody. I just wanted us to make that one clear. Why am I wanted you to mention the Hardap? What else is happening in Hardap apart from farming?
Basically nothing.
Apart from farming, what else happening in Hardap apart from Marindal?
Basically nothing, because it's
basically nothing.
Yeah, it's predominantly just agriculture.
Now, Dwight, you have now a population in Marindal which is actually literally based on agriculture. And if you look at the valley that passes through Marindal, it offers that beautiful agricultural climate. Now, the core activities, because if for all the small livestock farmers there, they depend on those abattoirs. Now, along the value chain, there is no value chain within the beef or the meat sector if there is no abattoir. Now you have all the small-scale farmers, you have all the commercial farmers within the Hardap region. And I can also ask again, what other abattoir can we find? How many are they? So now we are going to have farmers who are like northern farmers just producing livestock for the sake of it.
Yep.
So the most important thing is about to look at the value chain and the supply chain. When the goats are leaving the farm, they go in a truck. That the truck consumes fuel. And it employs 2 or 3 people. Then it gets to be driven to the abattoir. And at the abattoir, you have 2 or 3 guys that unload the cattle. Then you have this one that slaughter. Just look at the whole value chain, which one single abattoir is actually
facilitating,
like little destroying or completely finishing off. So that's why now I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the financial and something. I just want to highlight the value chain, because I think there is I'm getting to understand that, Dwight. We are talking too much, but we do not know what we are talking about.
And do you know what's the funny thing, Kanjengo? In the preparation for this morning, I looked at, I quickly did a little bit of a search in terms of a South African perspective. You know, what does it take to open up an abattoir and basically to run it? There was this lovely little platform known as a beginner's guide to an abattoir from South Africa, known as kentmaster.co.za. And they explain here, they make abattoir equipment for abattoirs. One of the key things that they highlight here is, yes, you will have your market research and your feasibility study, and then some of the other concerns that cascade downwards is primarily looking at how often do you basically do a review of, like, let's say financials, which is an internal stuff. Like you also cited, you know, the particular notice that was sent out to the suppliers basically sets the main cause of this abattoir's closure, which is the consecutive losses per financial year. And the key thing that stems out from this is that you need skilled staff. You can't just have any particular person that you're just employing. You need skilled staff to be regularly trained so that you know you are serving, because obviously you and I know that, you know, the food sector is a very what's that word? It's very, you know,
it's a really delicate one, bro.
It's delicate basically, yeah. Because you need the right skills, you need the right people who understand what they need to do, so that you don't firstly transfer any particular illnesses or diseases or stuff like that to your customers, but also that the animals that you get you can basically also assess and understand what kind of level of quality animal you're getting for this production. And all of this, it doesn't say it, but all of this speaks to significant financial burden that such an entity has to carry.
Yep. And if I can just actually stop you there. If O&L is closing down an abattoir because of the cost of operation. Now, Dwight, imagine a young boy from somewhere in Okongwati who is being told by Tatengorare to go in business. And I'm repeating this again. Imagine O&L, one of the biggest of the champions that we created. And so far this year, if I'm not mistaken, they've closed the Hartley F1 in the Northern Industry, right? And now a whole abattoir. Now you have some crazy, and I'm going to say crazy people that are offering money to the youth and telling them to go study business. And I'm going to say this again. There is a misunderstanding, and all of us are guilty because of our entrepreneurship education and the commercial education. We think money is solving problems. And we are not doing these things in parallel. Now you have given more than almost 500 million or 300 million to some young people to go study business.
Yeah.
But you have done little to fix the ground, to prepare the ground. Yeah. And I keep repeating this education that I'm learning to say that as a farmer, you don't throw seed before you prepare the soil, right?
Yeah.
So now we are getting to understand that the soil is not prepared very well to take the seed, the entrepreneurship seed. That's why most of our entrepreneurial seed that we are throwing on the ground are failing. And this is where the real conversation must happen. We should take off our suit and all these beautiful seminars and all these nonsensical things that we are having all over Windhoek. Can we address the real issue, the ground, the operational cost? Colleagues, what are you going to tell these young kids? If O&L is saying they have incurred 92 million on the other financial year, then the other one 26 million. And if you look at what they've said, despite significant investment, that is now capital and skill and training, numerous initiatives to improve operational efficiency, reduce cost and expand the market, and strengthen our commercial performance, the business is just unable to achieve the long-term financial sustainability. So now we have to zoom in. And I keep telling my leaders that If you go to Safari for any conference or any seminar, guess who are going to find? You're going to find the whole Minister of Mirt. You're going to find all of them, they just gather themselves around and talk to themselves.
Yeah.
Then invite one economist to come and do a presentation. We need to listen to the guys on the ground to understand the real cost of doing business in Namibia. We need to zoom in. And Dwight, let me say this again. There is this index that NIPDB and everybody keep producing.
The seven, is it the 7 indexes or indices?
All these things that you guys are lying to yourself. Oh, Windhoek has become what? Namibia has moved up in startup. Startup what? What has improved in terms of competitiveness? If you have ONL closing down an abattoir, tell me something different. When you guys are celebrating, Namibia has improved to 2 places, 3 places. In what?
Yep.
I want you to tell me, if you have one of the oldest, one of the most efficient company in the space of a year closing down 2 operations, tell me where your competitiveness has improved and why you keep puzzling these things around and reporting. We have moved up 2 places, 3 places. Now, contradict me. Please put me in my place and tell me that survey is correct.
That, unfortunately, Kanjengo, you are correct on. I
just want you to say I'm wrong.
I know because that, remember the source that I just the resource that I just cited you, this South African abattoir manufacturing platform. They say they're under financial considerations that even just setting up, now they use English, very cleverly, even just setting up a small scale abattoir, small scale in a South African context, which probably would be the size of that Marintal abattoir, you require significant financial investment. They don't say which you and I know is obviously, yes, you need financial investment, yes. They say significant, reason being, because that would include the cost for the equipment, the facility construction, the staffing, and the operating expenses. And this also features into primarily the article that we've got in for today, the one also about Katima. I will be speaking to someone at 7 a.m. just after you about the Katima one. But we get technically to understand the some of the demons that bother or that actually burden, for example, the state-owned entity, Meatco. Because in many scenarios, it seems like we don't understand the financial implications of running such a facility.
Of running an abattoir.
Yeah.
And we were so loud about Meatco. Oh my goodness, Meatco is running down. Why are they borrowing? I'm coming back to again.
Yeah.
Namibians, and it's not because I'm so well enlightened, but one thing I've observed, we are having wrong conversations. And I also blame you, the media. I'm also going to blame you. You guys will keep writing that survey and putting it. Namibia has improved in terms of competitiveness. And I look at, what are we drinking? What are we feeding our journalists?
Yeah.
Are we not so well enlightened to understand the cost of doing business in Namibia?
Yep.
For us to actually reject that survey at all points, because we are lying to our policymakers. We are feeding them wrong information. I'm waiting for a caller, so anybody who listens to Eagle FM to say, Nino, you are wrong. If ONL, one of the biggest entity, this is not about slimming down operation, bro. No. And remember, ONL has been in Marindal for so many years. Their super farm is there. They have beautiful land there. They keep the cattle. Dude, you have and remember, they faced even so much when the dam during the drought.
That was last year.
When they were unable to get water, they were told that the water which is now in the dam is just for drinking.
Yeah.
And remember that super farm depends on water crazy.
Yeah.
Now, Dwight, I wanted to get to the ground and understand. That's what I'm saying. If we are going to have conversation on radio, if we are going to write on newspapers, because this is what these politicians and policymakers in parliament are reading. If we keep feeding them wrong information about the true cost of doing business in Namibia, we're not going to get these things right. We are going to have more abattoirs closing down. We're going to have almost everything which is very, very important on the value chain scaling down.
Yeah.
And at every platform I go, I say this. We are contradicting ourselves so much. You cannot tell me you want to create 200 jobs and you have significant scale-up companies closing down like this.
Yeah.
Sven is part of one of the biggest committees. Why don't we call Sven in and say, dude, what do you need? What do you need? Please, what can we fix? Because the Marindal people, this is not about many, many things. The farmers around Marindal, the cost of meat, the cost of alternative, because these things are not going to trickle down to the consumers because there's no more competition.
Yes, there is.
This is not some guy who's living in Europe, he's living here.
And it's going to add on to the costs now for those farmers, basically, to get, like you said, now to those consumers, because now they probably have to drive further. I know that Rebos has an unofficial, I don't want to call it unofficial, primarily because even the resource that I looked at last night in terms of understanding how many abattoirs do we actually have across the country, and Kanjengo, you won't believe it, it's less than 10.
It's less than 10.
It's less
and
than
most
10.
of them are not even operating at the capacity where they can take up so much.
2 or 3, depending on this resource, seem to be, okay, I won't say non-functional, which includes the Katima one, but now you have to add in the Marindal one. And I'm talking about both public-owned and state and privately-owned facilities. And then you have the in-betweens, like these mobile abattoirs that can apparently be set up that I didn't even know something like that could be done. And
it's in Kavango and Zambezi. Yes.
Yeah, so we also need to understand in terms of, yes, they're trying to help these farmers, but also what's the level of advancing that mobility aspect, which doesn't get answered, which you're right, because the data, the statistics is not there, because we don't know what's happening.
Droid, I'm telling you, I spend so much time reading, I spend so much time observing my leaders. I'm confused, I'm puzzled, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed. What are these people in these ministries doing? I do not know. I've never been confused in this economy. Like, you have leaders saying this, and you have this happening, and you have that happening. There is so much confusion. I've never been so confused.
Yeah.
And now guess what? China is there saying that we're opening up our market. And beef is one of the products. Dwight, beef. And guess what? From today, Monday, NAMRA is able to give certificate of origin for those who are able to export to China. And beef is one of them. If you have an abattoir closing down when the market is opening up, I'm confused.
And another one, another one standing idle without providing any particular clarity to the to its stakeholders in terms of if it's still going to operate or not. I'm talking now obviously of the Katima one, because Marindal closing down, the Katima basically saying, hey, listen, we don't know what's the status of this thing. We don't know where it's going. We don't know if the lights are on. We don't know if it's going to function. We don't know if this thing is going to buy cattle locally. We don't even know what its particular market, strategy would be after taking over from Meatco. And here's a lovely thing, Kanjingo, just to help you with before we end off. When Meatco handed this abattoir back over to Zamco, and I'm just going to leave it on that, they cited specifically that they paid out approximately almost 140 million Namibian dollars in the 5 years that they were operating it to the livestock producers in Zambezi. They created employment, about 57 permanent jobs and about 100 temporary ones. And they also provided a successful implementation strategy of the commodity-based trade protocol for this facility. And the biggest concern for the stakeholders, which are the livestock producers, is that they don't know what the new strategy is from the new custodian of the facility.
Yeah, and like for these guys, I look, as much as we beat Meatco down, it was not easy actually implementing the commodity-based trade protocol.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that. And again, if you look at Zambezi, which is more prone to FMD, it was not easy about how they managed to engage and to have such and establish such an important formal market. It was crazy, and we didn't give them their props. Now we can see now. They slaughtered 17,160 cattle. Generated 139.4 million, which is paid literally to those livestock. Just look at that value chain and the wealth that have been created by that just in 5 years to the communal farmers. 57 jobs, 100 temporary jobs that can actually fluctuate as they slaughter.
They accessed that facility accessed Ghana. It was from that.
Ghana.
Yeah, it's from that facility that we could access Ghana.
Yep, it was from there. And it was a conversation about DRC, and it was a conversation about Angola. So, and this is not just about Zamco alone. There is something that I'm saying I want us to start doing. We need a hand-holding economic building model. As much as now we say, okay, Mitco, you can leave, Zamco, you can go in. Dwight, I'm literally now admitting to myself and to my ancestors that at an entrepreneur and in a commercial operation, there is a level of weakness that we have to operate something very, very successfully. And yes, it has to do with the education, perhaps our entrepreneurial education. And we think when we learn accounting, we think we have learned commercial matters. Running a business, and I think we need to talk to all our institutions. We need to strengthen the module for entrepreneurship and business studies. We need to strengthen, because, Dwight, we are failing at operating and running businesses. And because there are no support, hand-holding support, it's even worse. I don't know, but Mitko said something that, no, we are also going to be available for consultation. Why was Zamco not consulting? Why were they not consulting? And the Minister of Agriculture, because this is now about wealth creation for rural people, you do not want people to leave Zambezi to come to Windhoek. So the strategy is supposed to be in place. Minister of Agriculture is supposed to be paying attention to ensure that that abattoir exists, to ensure those rural farmers actually benefit from the country resources, that we have a fund available. We have something available for you for the next 3 years just to make sure things run smoothly. They can even support the supply. Even to say we have 2 trucks that we can lend to you for the next 2 years to be able to get the cattle from wherever we can get them. We can have a certain program with you and manpower to run the abattoir in terms of electricity at a certain rate. We can work with you to be able to pump your own water from the Zambezi. Something like, so we can remove you from water in terms of the cost, because abattoir, they consume water like crazy.
And the electricity.
Why are we not thinking in such? It has to be hand-holding. Hand-holding. Now, this thing, it has been 2 months, it's not slaughtering. Now, look at how many farmers. Look at the wealth that you're supposed to create. You know, I think there is a level of delusion among ourselves that when a person has this business, MBA, business study, no. Because none of those modules talk about running a business in Namibia. Do you know that? None of them.
I know, because it all speaks about sitting in a boardroom. And being strategic.
Most of these MBA holders, they are holding useless qualification. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to stand by it. If these MBAs and whatever they have, they were quite useful, then why are our business not surviving? I'm including myself. I'm also part of the useless. I'm busy learning. But I have made a piece to say we really, really, really need to study commercial matters where things are being described about the cost and the operational environment of Namibia and the operational environment of SADC. Understanding where can we sell, where can we get what. Most of those modules say nothing about us.
Well, and unless people did the old marketing that I did, Kanjengo, the old marketing technically spoke about market segmentation, market research, how to do your business stuff, understanding your own strategy. Unfortunately, that subject or that course doesn't exist anymore because it was now butchered into 3, which is distribution channel management, logistics management, and now marketing, which is now advertising, basically. So, yeah. Now the modern Namibian has to go and study 3 courses to understand what I studied in just 3 years. But yeah, Kanjengo, we have to leave it there. Thank you for taking the time, and obviously thank you for the particular insight you provided.
Don't thank me. You just ruined my morning, man. This is sad.
I know.
Sad.
It's an uppercut as well as also an elbow in Muay Thai that we got just this morning in terms of these industrial developments. So yeah.
All right, man.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks a lot. Now we go into a short break once again, dear listeners, but the consideration is there. Once again, as I said, how we do with rules and engagement, you can call through at 083-288-401 based upon the conversation points we've started on for this morning session. But after the short break, we've got to get into our next particular sort of like analytical discussion taking place this morning here on the number one talk radio station, that being Eagle FM, and this is the Unpacking the Day. We'll be back right after this.
lipuranengeno wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondudu toingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna emitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado inawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendife nawa nokumona oijamo ili nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe mbali heali nola natu heali mbali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu mbali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests and callers are not those of Eagle FM and any of its staff.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
And we come back, dear listeners, from the quick break right there. And specifically, as we get into our next particular conversation, we are joined by my on-air guest, that being Mr. Dobson Kwala, who is a Zambezi resident as well as also a farmer himself. Dobson, welcome. Good morning. It's been a long time, or it's been a minute since we last spoke here on air. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Dwight.
Yep. I hope I didn't wake you up, Dobson. I know it's still 7 a.m. But yeah, thank you for joining us, man.
Okay, thank you so much. You didn't wake me up. I was ready.
100%. Dobson, obviously, we're looking forward into our discussion, just for our listeners to know. Obviously, we've got the particular conundrum there in Zambezi for local producers. And obviously, there seems to be a miscommunication or a disconnect between the 3 stakeholders, that being Zamco about the facility, the abattoir, the concerned farmers in the region, who, just for our listeners' information, I tried firstly getting them on, guys, so that we can understand the actual core, and the ministry who still owns the facility, because the Ministry of Agriculture is indicating to Zamco specifically, there is this abattoir that Meatco is running, and Zamco is now taking over from 2 July, and the farmers are concerned because they're not getting an adequate or satisfactory response. What I've outlined in the correspondence, the documentation that Eagle FM has seen, Dobson, it seems like there's a core issue that is not being cited by the farmers. They cite the impacts, they cite their unhappiness with regards to how the communication that they're getting. But if I can ask you this particular discussion, in our discussion for this morning, what is the core issue?
All right, thank you so much, Dwight. I think the major issue is, outstanding bills by Zamco, which have been taking place also during, mid-coast time of paying late, to farmers. They take their stock, and after being slaughtered, whether they are sold or not sold or stored, the farmers don't receive their money. You see, the farmers that are into cattle farming have been there for many years, and they have been sustaining, Midco for some time. Now, which means they are used, after 21 days, they receive their money, or after 7 days, they receive their money.
Yeah.
Or immediately when, Midco used to go, because they used to carry a scale, drive into the, rural areas, they weigh the cattle and all the stuff. After weighing, the cattle is sold, and payment is done. Now, gradually, over years, there's Midco collapsing the whole country. Farmers of Zambezi, also communal farmers, started also being affected, and they were unable to receive their financing very well. Now, during the administration, the 6th administration, that's where Midco started to really plunge deeper. And you cannot understand why the plunge was so steep when there's bigger markets, even within Africa, for beef, and we secured 2 giant markets, and all were communicated, and farmers were happy. So this is the major thing, of not paying, money in time, and it creates debts for the farmers for not maintaining their farms, crops, paying the bills for their children to school, even maintaining their own livelihood. So this is the major thing. Before we come to why, Zamco, why government wanted the way forward. So this is the ice-breaking, answer that I'll give for now.
Yeah.
And we'll go deeper so that we also expose the failure of Zamco. We also, expose the failure of the division that deals with Midco, because Midco doesn't exist already. It has made a failure. We saw when the late, the former chief of the Herero, may so rest in peace. We saw also he exited Midco after being at the helm of that SOE, but he also faced challenges. So we even saw that was in the 7th administration, the last year of Comrade Angolo Mbumba. We had a very serious talk regarding Midco still, whereby, certain cattle belonging to Midco and other farms that are into NIDA, that were being sold privately. And that standing, we don't know what has happened, because, the cattle that were being sold in NIDA, which is at Mangeti, illegally, which were owned by the state, which were supposed to also benefit us through Midco slaughtering when we are exporting cattle. It's another major issue that we also tackled, but it's silent up to today. So that's our ice-breaking.
Dobson, just to also help with that icebreaker that you outlined there for us, Midco cited that at the end, at 2 July, back in last month, when they handed over to Zamco the facility specifically, they had in the 5 years since 2021 generated 139 million Namibian dollars for the farmers, for the livestock producers in that 5-year period, as well as also created the jobs that obviously are associated to the particular facility. One of the in the correspondence, in the documents between the Ministry of Agriculture and Zamco and the concerned farmers to the Ministry and the Prime Minister, has been in terms of the level of communication, or the scale of communication, or the clarity of the communication. And some of these concerns have been in terms of, you've already cited like the cash flow dimension, but also something about being or providing surety. Just reassurance that the facility will still play its purpose in the Zambezi region. What does that particularly say right now? Because obviously in a 5-year period, we could technically see that Meatco can come in, take on a facility, open it up, operate it for 5 years, provide a market strategy in the 5-year period, meaning to Ghana, because they also cite here that Ghana was part of the particular supply route or linking an African market to the Zambezi region's economic endeavors. And is there clear indication that primarily under new management, basically, this facility will still operate in the same particular scale?
All right. Thank you so much, Dwight. According to what has happened, that I know of, that I'm aware of, that I even ended up even discussing with the media so far and the entire state, when people were listening, and I've been vocal. People, they're aware and they know that it's just that people forget easily and maybe out of ignorance. What happened is that there was, during the time of Meatco when it was collapsing, it was unable to maintain its facilities. You see, what happened is that in the Zambezi, we started seeing that the abattoir was no more functioning. People were being retrained.
Was this before 2020?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I just need to set a timeline for the listeners, because there's obviously the 5-year period I mentioned. Yeah.
So Zamco was not yet founded, but due to that crisis, the farmers in the Zambezi then thinking of, running their own
affairs.
They were even initiating to say like, if now Meatco is no more working, and the abattoir is closed, can we maybe start slaughtering? Then we use the facility for storage. Then it was just in between that, people are trying to, and I think that was the time when Honorable Minister, Leon Just was for enterprise, because that's where it was, still falling under before agriculture, was the major supervisor over it. Now, then after, salary deliberation and all those stuff, and there was weakening really to the operations to say like it can't revive if there's no injection from the government. Now, in that 6th administration, there was the issue of like non-functioning SOEs, which are intended to make profit in all sectors, will never be funded. Now, agriculture was hit hard because there was a sign that there is indeed, enterprise, operations or, commercial businesses with it. But why should the state be taking money and give it to such things? Now then, what happened is that the government advertised the ownership, the next owner of the abattoir in Katima. Now then, the organizing structure of the farmers, a few individuals that have managed to secure Zamco's registration and all those stuff, they applied. Now the lease is 25 years. So they secured the 25 years lease. So when we are busy discussing about Meatco's life, then from the state, Honorable Sarago Kongera managed, to lead into the securing of the market in the United States, as well as the Ghana, the Chinese market. We've been discussing about that.
Yeah.
So there are types of meat. So the beef also stood up and started, to show signs that then we can still supply.
Yeah.
And that's where the drought relief program also managed to secure a few packets of meat that was also distributed, to the communities in the Zambezi. Then Meatco now, as it was given a bit of attention, it came back and seeing, its value to the state, to the community, and how it is branded, because the brand of Meatco went to an international community to show that these are the people that will be supplying. Namibia will supply us through this name. So they came back. When Meatco came back, instead, it secured a contract to trade under or to supply, to slaughter under the ownership of Zamco. Then Zamco, I don't know on the drawing board where they were sitting. Imagine they are the owners of the facility, but they enter into a less than 3% deal. Excuse me. Later, in the 3% deal. Imagine how can a person agree to almost 97% to be for Midco and 3% to be for Zamco. And they are sitting there with a legal expertise, because I believe Zamco had a legal lawyer and the Midco also had a lawyer, because certain contracts you use the legal expertise to sign it for you or to draft it for you. Then Zamco stayed in that 3% or less than 3% for 5 years, which was elapsing to July.
Yeah.
Now, the influence of maybe individuals talking and started seeing Zamco like they did not do well. So Zamco also started to feel like, okay, no, we are now bigger enough. When this term ends, we'll just cancel the deal. We'll just use the influence of politicians that are there. You see, then later in July when it came, Midco pulled out. Now, and I don't know whether Zamco was really having a business proposal or plan in the past 5 years, that the little money that they were getting from the shares after Midco sales, were they even really working on a very strong financial projection or business plan to say if Midco exits, we will be able to run this facility, with the capital, starting capital of either 1 million, for example, or 5 million maximum.
Yeah, like flawless, like flawless operations just continue from transition to transition. Yeah.
Yes. So now, here comes after 2 July.
Yeah.
Everything is shut. Now, the farmers were unable to be paid even from the previous sales that they were making or, selling to Midco, because Midco was in that last term of arranging to transact or transfer, to take everything back. Now, if you look at that, you can't disturb your cash flow. You have to hand over any audited report, or the audited report is required, and whenever you hand over. So it affects all the operations that they've been there. You have to start calculating how much you pay your former, workers and whatever, all the packages and all the stuff. Then you hand over to the new stuff. Now, then that outstanding, came into the time when now Zamco is owning. So the one that is complaining now is not Zamco, it's the farmers. And it's the beginning of the year, because the problem started coming, it had been coming like that.
Yeah, it seems it started like back in last year, 2025. The concerns technically started there.
Yes, definitely. Then this year, people have to send their children to school. They have to maintain their crops. They have to pay their workers, and other bills. They have to participate in various programs of the government, because we also have a big market in the DRC. Now, waiting for the money doesn't come. We started monitoring also on social media, concerning farmers. Even this previous demonstration that took place, we saw it, when they were planning about it, and they are really concerned. And some were saying, we don't care whoever that will own it. What we want is consistency to the facility.
Yeah.
But politically, the abattoir is made for the people of Namibia.
Yeah.
It is not made for the foreigners just to come in and out the way they feel like.
Yeah.
Because on the contract when the lease was given, there was no indication of a foreigner investor. We have various financial institutions in Namibia, all the more than 4 commercial banks of Namibia, Nedbank, Standard Bank, Bank Windhoek, and FNB. All those banks, they have, financial injection. We also have the Development Bank of Namibia, and we have Agribank. For an institution in Namibia to think outside the box and go get a foreign investor, it's not fair. Yeah, because the Standard Bank or all commercial banks, including the Development Bank of Namibia, they have over 100 million, funding of operations of any economic development or sustainable, program that should function in Namibia. And the cooperatives or a group of people can be financed.
Yeah.
And with the backup of the ministry, if the ministry gives a surety and guarantee to say, we will make sure that markets are found. Even other ministries also that are into commercial, activities, they will definitely help. I don't think a bank will fail to finance the operations without a foreign investor.
Yeah.
So this is one of the areas that I don't support to hear that Zamco is running around the globe, trotting around the globe, looking for an investor. I'm not going to accept that, because even in Namibia, we have young people from the Zambezi region that can run Midco. Yes, that can run Midco. If Zamco fails, they must hand it over. The youth are ready, they can take it over and manage it. There's a management of making the cash flow to survive and to move on, do the marketing, advertisement and everything, and all maintaining the slaughtering.
Yeah.
Then there is an issue of supply. So now the issue is that Zamco have a good supply, market, in the Zambezi, but there is them that are failing to manage it because they don't have the cash flow. And to tell you the truth is that the beef, marketing or selling did not start today. It has been there before independence.
And it's and it should be like, okay, it's not I don't want to say it's easy, but if a customer or customer market knows about Zambezi red meat supply, then it is easy to basically see the particular quality and also look at the quality assessment and all those other particular measures, because it has done it before, the facility, and it can supply when necessary. So primarily it's a discussion of staying operational.
You see what is happening. Let me give you a background when I mentioned that these are what the beef industry have been here before independence. The reason why I'm saying that
Dobson, just hold on for me. We're quickly getting into a short break.
All right.
What's not to love about USAVE's special mid-August combo? For just $219 Namibian, you can get 5 bags of essential foods, 2.5 kilos of Champion Super Maize Meal, 5 kilos Bocomo Fed Cook Flour, 2 kilogram nice rice, 1 kilo selected Grande Pasta, and 2 kilograms Marathon Sugar. That's just $219 Namibian for 5 bags of essential products. Yes, we all save at USAVE.
Coming back there from the quick break, dear listeners, Dobson, where you left off after the break?
Yes. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. You see, where I wanted to start talking is regarding the beef history in the Zambezi.
Yeah.
You see, when South Africa was colonizing Namibia, there was a British Investment Corporation, BIC. Now, looking at the vegetation, of the Caprivi then, it was suitable for agricultural, livestock farming, Then one of the areas where the beef started, it was, at my village, that's where the big crowd of BIC was. Before it was taken to Sachinga, and, Sachinga is now owned by the state. Then from there, you could see like when the farming was taking place, they were also training people how to breed cattle.
Yeah.
At the same time, also to master the categorizing or classification of what should be for dairy and what should be for beef or meat production. Now, the vegetation of the Caprivi, even up to date, they still recommend that when cattle are munching on different types of, it's having a quality beef. So now then, given that background, we cannot say that the beef industry is going down in the Zambezi region because of there are no cattle or because of there is no...
Or no one is buying it, yeah.
Yes.
The customers are there,
now, what is lacking only is the people that are there, either it's any institution or whether it's the ministry or whether it's the government that is failing to still trigger the management of livestock that should sustain the markets, which Namibia is busy entering into, on international level. Now, then what is happening is that with this little background that I'm giving, it's just to show that the responsible people at the moment, they are really failing. And we have now demonstrated that, the knowledge of entrepreneurship is lacking. I don't know how many people that are in the circle or committee of Zamco that are failing to understand what is business. Because when they went to sign for that lease, after acquiring it from government. I think they were supposed to have given a business plan, like I've mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it means that we are lacking certain skills in business operations to be able to run, a bigger facility like that abattoir, because that abattoir is a livelihood. Imagine, you can even take 20 cattle, you are cashed up, you are given that money back, so you are the value of your stock.
Yeah.
Then you are not the single one. There are maybe almost 40 or so farmers that are selling at the same time.
Dobson, that's actually a good point. Just for our listeners, what's the average price for a head of cattle that could be offered? When Meatco was still running the facility before, up to 2 July.
That was in the range of about 8,000.
Yeah.
Even when Meatco was running that facility, the value, the stock value is not equivalent to commercial farms. They were not, because what they are selling sometimes it's not, the full or live, stock.
Yeah.
They have to slaughter it and weigh, the beef itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gives 250 kg. Because even if a cattle is standing, it's alive, it's about 500 or 600 kg. It doesn't mean like that's what you're going to pay for.
So it was technically at dead weight that they would look at. That was the determining price.
Also the age. Yeah, it's also the age. If it's too old, it doesn't give you enough money. So between the range of 5,000 to 8,000, that's where Meatco has been selling. But upon the complaints of farmers looking at how other stock are benefiting farmers in other regions, then they started saying like, no, we can't be selling similar weight and all those stuff. Then that's when there was a gradually change. But the farmers of the Zambezi, they are hit that it's communal and it's high food and mouth disease.
Yeah.
Now then that's where we started seeing even 20 years ago to almost 20 years to 25 years ago. That's where people started seeing like other people started importing crossbreeding with the Brahman, and just to capitalize on the market, because the Brahman is one of the the meat master of in the beef industry.
Yeah.
And it's selling good. So then they started crossbreeding it, making it inhabitable into the Caprini street. So now just to make sure that to add value so that they can sell better. So even when Meatco was there, the bottom line is that the scale was still very low. Farmers or cattle, breeders, they still want at least one carcass even to fetch about 10,000, 15,000.
Okay, so to at least go past that particular low earnings level, but was there like any sort of like concrete reasons given as to why that price level, the 8,000, was there? The minimum of the 5,000 to 8,000 price range, just as an explainer to the stakeholder.
The whole issue is like the type of cattle that are bred into the area.
Yeah,
they don't fetch. They don't have much quality. And besides that is that it's communal and it's in the FMD zone.
Okay, so it's like a risk factor. So these are risk factors. Yeah.
Yes, and they are free ranging.
Yeah.
So when they compare to commercial farms, it's that they have the better meat, they have the better environment that is disease free, and they are also given supplements and all those stuff. But these are weaker excuses, because you see the area of the Caprini Street, it's similar to other parts of Zambia, which is in the southern part, southwest. Before Livingstone, it's also similar to the Kalahari, but not really the Kalahari, is Savannah Woodlands, which is in northern Botswana, where also similar, livestock is being, but they have, good markets when it comes to commercial. But there's one thing that, some years ago also, I spoke to one of the vets that was once in the Zambezi, who explained it to me. His name is Dr. Chitati. He said, even if you are in communal area, if you do commercial activities, you can still have, quality and value, high value livestock. As long as we come to your farm as vets, we inspect, we supervise, we make sure that you meet all the the measures that are in place to maintain hygiene and sanitation.
Yeah, and then you get that quality assurance technically that gives you as that producer just a better advantage.
Yes, and because I was doubting to say like, no, how can they say like cattle from the northern part here in this region, they're of value? Then I went to question him like, no, why don't people do his commercial farm? Because I've been across Namibia, I haven't seen that. Maybe other parts is a different world. It's just still the same. They are human beings. There's the vegetation is the same. Despite just the issue of like, no, buffaloes are roaming here and there. What more if a farmer can fence off a 20 hectares for his, livestock? Then the doctor was saying like, no, that is perfect. It's not a problem, and because it's visible to say like this farmer is very serious. And I was looking at the breeding schemes like the Sachinga and the Kopano. Like they are all faced up. They have face, and the Katima Mulilo, they have a face. Now, if an individual does the same and keep his or her cattle inside targeting the commercial market so that he can get more, then the vet say like, no, it's doable. And this is what the farmers of the Zambezi mostly don't know. And they are busy mixing their cattle with other cattle which are just free roaming, whereby they are easily, contracting to diseases. They are easily, getting some tick bites. So all these are some of the issues that can disturb the beef market. And upon, when there's too much reports of diseases and sicknesses, they will never look at that specific area where the source comes from, but the whole region now will be affected.
Or the whole region gets placed under what is that phrase that the ministry uses? Quarantine. They place the whole region under quarantine.
Yes, even if it's somewhere in the furthest eastern part of the region, they will just say like the whole region is affected because the impact of what is happening is higher than an individual who can defend him or herself to say like, me, I'm in a free area or free zone. Data analysis is the one that directs the actions that one can take, especially when the state is taking action. So now what I'm trying to say there is that if there are people that want to supply, their livestock for beef in the Zambezi region, they must start practicing fencing off their crops or areas where they are farming. Now people will say like, no, farming, fencing is not allowed in communal areas. It's true, that's what it stands. But for a commercial reason, and you don't block many areas, you still leave the ways of passing of other livestock. You can still do that. Or even if you are maybe 10 farmers, you can say, no, let's consolidate the idea of having one pasture, for our cattle. You can still do that because it's happening in South Africa. You see, you can see, farms join together. But when they are targeting something, they can use one farm, because they call them some camps, then they make sure that they maintain, their stock there. When the market comes, they all, they take them together. You see, so then what is happening is that coming to the major, issue that we are busy discussing here, the government is not really supposed to be put into a problem here. The government is fine. The government has fully exercised its mandate to say, once our facility or this industry needs to function properly, let's give it to the private sector. No, which means government has done it.
Yeah, they've done their part. Yeah.
Yes, they have done their part. And when government doesn't want to interfere, it's because government knows the mentality of the black people. The people are the ones that will start pointing their finger. You gave us this, now you're done. Let me just be straightforward. So then the people start complaining. They start using their political arms. No, you took over our facility. We were supposed to live like that. What? So government now behaves more mature enough. Like it's having a parental, manner to say, let our child grow. We'll just monitor and watch these people how they are going to go.
Actually, to help you, Dobson, to help you with that perspective, the correspondence seen by Eagle FM specifically cites that, a couple of letters by the minister herself has indicated to Zamco, listen, you guys are in charge of the facility, even though we as the government, we own the facility, but you guys said, you promised you will, operate and get things going. Meaning that there's a particular contractual arrangement between the ministry and Zamco, which is that lease agreement you cited, primarily where they've got to step up and primarily fill a gap, which they promised they would. So you are right on that particular one, which is obviously one, which is the first question we ask about, what's the sense of a reassurance that the farmers can get in terms of this facility now is just smoothly continuing the operations?
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, that is what is happening. You see, there's no way that the government can contradict itself and come back again and start running something that even by law. It's by law that it's there that the SOE will run, the meat industry, independently. Sorry, and this is what even the SOE, officers were complaining 2 weeks ago when the head of state was saying like she can even disrupt.
Yeah.
She can even disrupt if she wants.
Yeah.
You see, because SOE are bemoaning that no ministers should not interfere in boosting that they are ministers. Okay, there is the issue of Mitco. Now, why should people are still seeking government's attention regarding the Mitco issue or regarding the abattoir in Katima? You see, the deal is already done. Zamco should just find a way on how it should handle the matter. Otherwise, with these complaints that are there, I think for the sake of protecting the farmers, government will step in. They will put maybe the Zamco aside and say, okay, let's find a solution. What are farmers looking for? Because people are waiting. We cannot give away our livelihood to a foreigner. And this is what Namibia did not realize yet. Every time we empower a foreigner, we are enriching another country.
Yeah.
What is happening is that there's no foreigner or foreign investor that will come in and walk out empty-handed.
Yeah.
They will definitely make sure they are 50% or they are 60%, they are getting it. Now, if you have people that get into partnership and they don't understand how the contract works, you will still boosting to maintain or to own something for 20 years while you are losing out. Because the result of owning something is we are looking at seeing the tangible results, like is the investment growing or not. We want to see workers being happy. We want to see, infrastructure being well maintained. We want to see the branding, being known or being seen everywhere. We want to see the adverts done. We want to see the products, being consumed, on the market, in our homes, by the lodges, all those stuff. That's when we can measure the positive sustainability. But now it doesn't happen. It's not happening.
Yeah.
New farmers are not coming into the livestock, business, because when we talk about the sensitizing of the youth to get involved, as youth farmers, the state has been talking about that, and even from the Namibia Chambers of Commerce and Industry, there is a sector for the youth that addresses the youth to be involved into agriculture. Now, what is happening is that they are not coming in because they don't see the reason why they should do the farming, especially in the Zambezi region or in the areas of Zambezi region. Despite the issue of the commercial farms that is there, that when you start, if you are just young, when you just start there, the market is automatically on.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to the issue of the state to be involved, and I think that the information that you have there, that is the truth. Even myself, I confirm that is the reality and the truth. Once you are leads, government cannot interfere. Government will just supervise you, making sure that you are able to sustain, the deal that you signed into. Are you able to respond to meetings, conferences? Are you able to, you see, like now when the president was in China with the delegation, if Zamco could be ready, they could have joined.
Yeah.
They could have joined Zamco and go find the market. Because the most important thing, even if it's not about an investor, it's about the market of what you're doing. So when you start small, maybe to start not taking more than 100 stock per month. Just like that, gradually you export, or you sell locally. And remember, there are types of, products that can come out from the beef, whereby you are talking about the canned meat, we are talking about the dry meat. Biltong is it's a name for a company in South Africa that started drying the meat. Yeah, so Biltong is not the dry meat. It's just the. Yeah, then we have I mentioned the tinned meat. I mentioned the dry meat. So all these are products that comes from the beef. Now, in Zambezi, we are only used to eating the beef as is. That's all. Meat slaughters, they put in the pigs, freeze them. Restaurants buy, schools buy, individuals they buy, and the little is exported. But now, when we are talking about the running of the abattoir, we are looking at value addition. And luckily, there is a story that is not yet effective. It's still just being spoken about. The how do you call it? It's a meat processing plant, which funded by the EU. Up to today, there's nothing. A few years ago, we read in the newspaper, the councillors of regional council, they came in, no, we have secured 25 hectares in Katima Mulilo. It will commence as soon as possible. As soon as possible, up to now, people are still waiting. Nothing is happening. Now, I think this is where, again, we're supposed to realize, like, the meat processing plant, how will it benefit the farmers? So, I think, one way or the other, if the current dam cost doesn't work, that meat processing plant could help the people.
Yeah.
And maybe the reason why it doesn't come, there might be a problem, when it comes to the current people that are feeling that they want to run, to facilitate the meat, business in the region.
Yeah.
So sometimes maybe they are not willing. No, let's just wait and see, because if we're gonna build this for these people again, they'll say like, no, we came to take their market, here and there. But nobody's accepting the situation of the beef industry in the Zambezi region. When other regions are thriving, are moving forward, they have well-established platforms where they are busy, discussing and making sure that their beef is living the country in peace. And to tell you that the other factual truth is that the beef market in Zambia is very big. I attended the auction, but though it was for the sheep and goats in Marietta, somewhere in March, or was it April? No, it was not in March. April, May. They were preparing to sell the stock so that when the winter arrives, at least there's no much loss. So you can see how much farmers from Zambia are coming to Namibia. They buy, and they don't buy one or two. They buy over 50 or 100 full trucks. They are going, and they say there's a big market in the DRC. You see, we have a market for Zambia, and Zambia has a market for DRC.
Yeah.
Just look how the value chain is. So then, when you look at that, one cannot understand if we have a consolidated body that should oversee the sale of beef in Namibia in case of Zamco now. So we are much on the case of Zamco. Farmers doesn't have a problem. Farmers, they have suspended the supply, and they've heard of like 700 stock have been sold so far, and it's not paid yet. So there's no way government can still even come there and bail out. And I think that's where the Agribank of Namibia should maybe, talk to Zamco. The sales consultant at Agribank can come and talk to Zamco and say, these are the products that we have. Or DBN can come to Zamco and say, these are the products that we have in that area. Or any commercial bank can approach Zamco. Though there is an issue of like sometimes bank cannot force you so that when you fall into a debt, you cannot point a finger to the bank. Rather, you should respond to the bank when they are doing their normal marketing.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I'm just trying to bring in so that the financial, sector that we have or institution that we have can also tap it. Maybe there's lack of knowledge to understand, like, which bank can finance who, on what product, or on what business.
Or to what scale.
So, yes, then if they are able to, to know that the banks are financing, then they can prepare a business plan. So I think to run, the abattoir facility, one cannot come in with less than 50 million. It should be 50 million and above. Because in the last operations of Mitco, we saw the trucks of Mitco going around the villages to go and buy the cattle. Because I do the monitoring also of, when the safety measures when it comes to the stealing of livestock, we have to be alert.
Mm.
So some of us, we started making sure that whether the cattle is on foot, we monitor its movement. Whether the cattle is in the car, we'll send the signal to law enforcement so that we make sure that everything moves smooth. Now, we saw the trucks of Midco when as they are, buying into, loading the cattle and delivering at the abattoir.
Yeah.
Just recently, last year, it's not like maybe it's very far. So Zamco should be in this state. If they have taken the abattoir, did they also take the equipment and machinery in terms of vehicles which Midco was owning or on it auctioned? Maybe sometimes Midco said, okay, we are leaving the area and we are taking our vehicles. No one is going to use them. So now Zamco is sitting in a state whereby they need a fleet of
drivers. They need a fleet of trucks.
Yes.
They need
Yes.
which speaks all to that operational stuff we cited at the start of our discussion.
Yes, and you don't need, like for now, they need almost maybe 4 trucks.
Yeah.
You see, like 4 8-ton trucks that they need to use to load the cattle.
Yeah.
And when they are doing the buying, you'll find that the origin is calling. People are having cattle at hand. Now, we just have few individuals that have turned into whereby they are slaughtering and selling and they are buying. And how can those individuals in the town of Katima Mulilo are making sure that they are slaughtering and selling and making sure that the farmers they get their stock.
Yeah.
And which means they are selling it somewhere $24 per kg. That's how they are selling.
What's the average price per kg?
It's in that range given the market.
Okay.
But but it's about 50 something there, depending on the type of the quality of the beef, the location. Where you find, because the grading, if one day we discuss about it further, we can break down nicely. Because what is happening is that when this scale is not made by an individual, it's made by the government. They make sure that they scale it accordingly.
Yeah, because I saw from the Meat Board of Namibia, they have it's like a reference, like a guide on the pricing that they assess throughout the country from private and communal farmers to understand what is the average price per red meat. So the reason I asked that, Dobson, is primarily because obviously in reference to the earlier point you highlighted, the earnings potential that farmers would get when Meatco was there versus the future going ahead with the facility. And just to add on to what you said about the processing plant, it seems like the assessment was 35 million back in 2022. That's when those articles cited that the Ministry of Agriculture back then cited that the meat processing plant would be about 35 million on a 5 hectare space right next to the abattoir. And and like you just now confirmed, it seems like that was just hot air at that time. But it was it's an EU facility that would have helped with that particular additional add-on. Dobson, I wanted to thank you because obviously, just for the rest of the morning, I can't keep you here forever. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to give us a little bit more insight in terms of understanding what is the core issue there in the Zambezi region regarding the meat supply, regarding the abattoir facility, as well as also the new dawn that was promised to the farmers.
All right, listeners, and I think thank you so much for the attention. And let's really find the solution to the situation that is currently affecting the livelihood of the Zambezi, communal farmers. And if possible, let's sit around the table, empower the current Zamco institution that is there to help farmers. Let's listen to them. Let's hear what is happening. If they require any training, let's find a way how we can train them. But they are old guards of Zamco or meat, which are stuck there in committees just to, always be there. But let's find a way that they should understand to exit and leave the young farmers to come in to run the meat industry. Whether they accumulate, finances, it's still fine because it's their intelligence and their knowledge. But now, disturbing young farmers just because you're an adult, an elder person, it's not fair. It's not nice. To be greedy is not a good thing. That is corruption. So let's break through this, situation. Let's find a way that we can roll the operation of the abattoir, just to make sure that we have consistent markets, in supply, and also we pay our farmers in time. I think the protest that they've done, handing over the petition, the governor should really intervene. She must come in because she was even there when it was handed over in July. She was one of the keynote speakers at the place. Now I think she must now turn sometimes against her words. She must now look at the potential of the abattoir and the people while they are complaining. She must come in a strong face, either to put a stand warning regarding this exercise which is taking place. Because the reason why I'm now emphasizing on the governor is that through her, that's where there's a light where everybody can see like it can come right once she will speak in the favor of sustaining the markets.
Yeah.
And the ministry can also be happy when it comes to that, because otherwise we cannot accept this to go on like this. We are really going to face other necessary challenges that we did not expect. So thank you so much for the time that you have accorded me to speak to everybody.
Not a problem. Thanks a lot, Dobson, for taking the time to talk to us basically this morning.
Bye.
Now, dear listeners, we are close to the top of the hour, which is basically at the top of 8 a.m. And as many of you would be in the traffic rush across the country, wherever you find yourself, good morning if you've already, reached your particular destination. But we'll quickly be taking a short break and we'll be coming back right after this.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saim, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-2888-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
So we come back, dear listeners, there from the particular break. We're heading into the last third for this morning session of the Unpacking the Day. And obviously just before the break, we obviously had the particular dissection, specifically from two particular, speakers on the developments happening in Namibia's agricultural sector, which is pretty broad, but we narrowed it down specifically to meat processing as well as also the particular developments about one facility closing down, one abattoir closing down, and another abattoir just hanging in limbo, primarily. Now, as I mentioned, rules of engagement, you can come through. Let's have a listen to what you wish to add on. If you don't add on, we also just continue on where we left off, specifically with taking a look at some of these particular considerations. Now, this is where I bring in sort of like the sellotape and the glue and all other particular tools in my imaginary, toolkit with regards to connecting the point of the AFCFTA article that David, my colleague David, authored for today's The Villager e-paper platform. And we connected to these two particular talking points. Now, remember, the book itself is its academic contributions, purely analysis and all that from across the continent, English-speaking aspects. And it then touches on, as you can see, the cascading effect. We've got the two facilities, the abattoir in Marintal, the abattoir in Katima. Obviously, the abattoir in Katima provided market access into the African continent, which basically played into the AFCFT dimension, as well as also how the abattoir in Marintal allowed for, quick and easy access,
primarily for other red meat supply to facilitate supply in whether it be in Namibia or in the SADC context. Because Namibia's particular goat and let me rather say mutton and lamb supply is of a desirable quality. I'll put it at desirable quality, primarily to just cite to you that this is the particular indication of what we looked at that time. Now let's get the first caller's contribution coming through. Eagle FM, good morning.
Dwight, good morning.
Angabona, how you doing?
We thank God. How are you doing, my boy?
I'm okay, Angabona.
I didn't know that it was live, but because it's a long time I've heard from the doctor from Zambezi and all this Kanzewa talking about you, that your interest. The story of agriculture and agri and all these things, it's actually your interest. The only problem, I just forgot there was a term, a concept actually, that you used to use. So that I think, I don't know whether it's mythical or maybe it's a national kind of approach.
If you describe it, Angabona, I could probably remember it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to describe it. The one that you just select some of the livestock that are not affected and sell them to mythical, subsidize what, you know what I'm saying? So that you don't just close the whole clock or whatever, the whole, you select the ones that are not affected by the mouth disease and whatever. What is it? I know you are the one who first taught us about that thing.
What is that? Angabona, it's been a long time since
it has got 3 letters. So whenever the animals, the livestock are affected, let's say by mouth disease or any other, it does not mean that the whole close is affected. So you therefore then select the one that you can take to abattoir or mythical or wherever where they can be slaughtered. I will remember.
I think it's quarantining that you're talking about, Angabona.
No, it's not quite. Yeah, but there's a name that you said.
Because quarantining only takes out the impacted cattle or the impacted livestock, so that you don't impact the whole herd of the farmer. Obviously, that means that the vet has to go into the field and help these farmers identify which ones are the healthy ones, which are the not so healthy ones. And then they keep the quarantined cattle one side, which is technically still, it's still livestock that you can just rehabilitate. You just look after them. You just treat them, and the other ones can still be marketable. Yeah.
Is that one? That's that one with the 3 letters.
Yeah.
So. It is now the problem. Is it that the farmers, the people who have got those livestock, that maybe they are not coming for, or they perhaps do not understand the value of these things, because we are told just that my discussion was disrupted when you were having a conversation with Kanjoka Nkwanyoka. And is it that people are not seeing the importance of taking their animals to abattoir, or is it that they are not there because we heard that they have a lot, especially those regions in the northern region, they have got a lot of livestock.
Yeah, by Meatco's estimates 2 years back, the last time I engaged with Meatco was that it was 2 million behind the red line. Let's use the colloquial term, behind the red line. That's 2 million cattle. If you pull it from west, Kunene, all the way east into Zambezi, it's 2 million cattle behind the red line. Below the red line, which is the rest of Namibia, is just below 1 million.
Okay. So now, what is it that perhaps that we are missing? Is it that we are not convincing our people that side, or just to reorganize? Because for me, I don't buy an issue of removing the red line completely.
Yeah.
That one I can't go. Whether the economists come or politicians come and things like that, because I still see it as if it's an issue to import. I mean, to export jobs, revenue to this side where the industries has already grown.
Well, Angabona, from what we heard just now from Dobson specifically, it now puts into a picture. Because at one stage before this Katima abattoir, discussion, which is now technically government owns the facility, but the facility is leased out to a local private entity, which is a Namibian entity.
Oh, that's good. Thank God.
Yeah, with that's
I thought maybe a foreigner and people start complaining. Yeah, why a foreigner?
Yeah. But the concern is now, Angabona, that for the 5 years from 2021 up to now, 2026, 2 July, when the handing over took place from Meatco back to this entity, is that it seems the worry is smooth operation, smooth transition of operations. The concern, Dobson cited that obviously the cash incentive seems to be a question mark around this new management, which is technically old management, and that the transition is not as clear as when things were, well structured, well operated by Meatco when Meatco was in charge. Now, we get to see now, Nkabona, into the local agricultural sectors, and even if this is just regional, because it's just concentrated for now to the Zambezi region, we get to understand now how... Okay. Angabona, don't worry. It seems it disconnected on your side. But just to continue with the explainer, we get to see now that commercial activities at a boardroom level, meaning, behind closed door scenarios, are not providing the reassurance, the motivation for the key stakeholders. The key stakeholders are the farmers. The farmers basically have to supply. The farmers supply because they produce, they get paid. But there is a lack of reassurance here at the supply and the getting paid scenario. As the reassurance is very unreassuring, you obviously get a complete collapse of a situation that was functioning beforehand, and now it does not seem that it can technically provide or promise said functioning. Something similar to the engagement that Kanjengo provided us also just before Dobson's analysis regarding the development happening now in Marintal, specifically with the closure of the abattoir in Marintal. I cite the same South African platform, Kent Master, the surname, the English surname Kent, and it states, I just want to get into my email because I got my script there. It states that besides the significant financial contribution that an entrepreneur or whoever that wishes to open up their own abattoir, besides the significant financial contribution, and the funny thing is they put the financial consideration part of this particular explainer like at the bottom, close to the marketing and the customer relations segment of this particular piece of literature and information. They put two things below budgeting and financing. Now, budgeting says, the budgeting part is which I shared with Kanjengo. You've got to set up a small abattoir, it requires a significant financial investment, meaning you've got to prepare a detailed budget that includes all costs for equipment, facility construction, staffing, and operating expenses. Now, I'm obviously positioning this in the mind's eye for you, the listeners out there, who thought probably, that an abattoir facility is just, somewhere below a tree, stuff like that. No.
if you're going to maintain export standards to export markets, for example, into the rest of Africa, which also then the market adjacent to that, which is the Chinese market that Dobson also cited, and also the potential European market, who would obviously like to also consume more of Namibia's red meat production. All these particular things speak towards the small explainer that I've got here open up in front of me. One thing that they do advise, which Dobson actually cited, is explore financing options if you're going to do or operate an abattoir. Explore the financing options. Bank loans, grants, the partnerships, in order to secure the necessary funds. Key in making something function. But then comes the next two important things, which supports Kanjengo's particular contribution that he gave a little bit earlier this morning. Cost management and pricing strategy. Now, there's a reason why I asked Dobson about the pricing. You know, average per kilogram price paid to farmers, for example, in the Kazima, I almost said Kazima, in the Zambezi region. The reason I asked that is it is the metric used for pricing. There's a price for the animal when it's alive, and there's a price when the animal is not alive, which is the dead weight pricing. Cost management is linked to your pricing strategy, because cost management is another particular dimension we've also got to understand. Cost management, which is one of the three particular what do they call those strategies? Okay, in my skill set, cost management was one of the things that we were taught at university, because these are your three particular key strategies when you open up a business. For any new entrepreneur there, you've got to play three scenarios in your head or in your planning for your business plan or whatever plan that you've got there. One is cost management, the one is niche market segmentation, and the other one is product or just overall differentiation. So you've got to be different, which is differentiation. You've got to be different, meaning your product gives a completely different, satisfactory dimension towards, as opposed to the competition. Or you do cost management, or cost efficiency is the actual term, being that you run an efficient project just through your costs. You manage your costs. You make sure every resource delivers on the desired outputs you want to achieve. Cost management or cost efficiency. And then the last one is niche marketing. Niche market segmentation is the most difficult of the three to achieve. Why? Because copying in the commercial activity or in the private sector happens a lot. Yes, if you guys think today, like the argument I got into with a fellow journalist 3 weeks back at a workshop, because I told her, well, technically it started from, she made a statement by saying TikTok is different from YouTube. And I said, no, it's not. And I will explain to you why it's not. And the whole argument centered about the short video formats. Now, TikTok is predominantly short video format, and YouTube is predominantly long video format. But YouTube recently introduced, like 2 years back, YouTube Shorts, which is its short video format. So YouTube doesn't just have a complete long format that it also caters for, that it's known for, but it also plays a little bit of a social media role by having the short video format being present. And a lot of creators use the short video format and the long video format in terms of creating content on YouTube. Whereas TikTok is just short video format. Now, the debate, which then blew into a argument, I have to be honest here, guys, was me countering the person's claim that TikTok is different from YouTube. I said, no, it's not. It's the exact same product. It's the exact same thing. It comes from the exact same platform. Why do I say that? Well, you've got 4 communication mediums. You've got print, you've got digital, which is everything internet, you've got TV, and you've got radio. They are 4 different platforms. 4 different platforms. So even if you are YouTube and you are TikTok, you come from the same platform. You both come from internet. That makes you the same thing. Now, the reason why I showed you this particular explainer in terms of the niche marketing explainer is primarily you can see that there's a duplication of the same product on the same platform. That's why you've got one milk brand versus another milk brand. But the only thing that they've got going for them in terms of convincing a consumer is that this one's packaging has red and green in it, and that one's packaging has blue and white in it. It doesn't matter. The consumer doesn't care whether the thing comes from Namibia or South Africa or Poland. Like, there's a new milk I saw here in one of these retail shops here close to us. It's called Polish milk. Yes, Polish milk. All the way in Namibia. So, you see things like this. And there is no clear sort of like incentive for me as a consumer to go like, you know what, Polish milk tastes nice versus South African milk and Namibian milk is just absolutely horrible. There is no difference. It's from the same animal. It's just the geographic locations. Now, as we can obviously see, when it comes to a facility like an abattoir is a business as well. Can be a business. It can be. You've got to ask yourself the question primarily in what is the overall strategy? Because now we're getting into like the nitty-gritties of commercial activity. What's the overall strategy? I'll tell you now what this particular facade actually speaks to is that there was no strategy. There was none. Dobson didn't want to say it, but he alluded to it. There is no strategy. There is no strategy in continuing with the, what in my books, in my view, looks like the good work of Meatco. Meatco could provide statistics and clear claims. A public company, not public in the sense of like with a stock exchange, of being floated on a stock. No, not that kind of public. That's a public trading company. I'm talking about public in the sense of that state-owned. Meatco can provide clear justifications in its annual reports, and you'll see all those details reflected there. Now, yes, this is contained to a regional dimension, Zambezi, as also the same with the Hardtap dimension regarding the Marintal abattoir. That's also a regional scenario. And we obviously also have to understand that, and I think this plays to Namibia's overall stubbornness, because we as Namibia, we are superbly stubborn, especially you guys that are the farmers. We are participating in the bleakest environmental chapter of the world, which is, wherein the identification of climate change has been established since 1989 up until now. And we as Namibia, we are continuously fighting an uphill battle because we have fluctuating rainy seasons. We've got competition for the same resource, which is land, specifically between tourism, nature conservation, environmental management plus the nature conservation, and mining. And residential use. Residential use. Towns are becoming bigger. I continuously cite this rural to urban migration trend. Towns are becoming bigger. Town limits will expand, and they will continuously buy up farmland in order to meet particular needs. It's one of the things that I saw, which is a negative, for example, in South Africa. The example that I explained once to Pion the Home Run, to Helmut, and to you, the listeners, as well. The land between Johannesburg proper and Pretoria proper, which is now known as Midrand. It's a whole new city by itself. In Midrand, if you ever go to Johannesburg like today, you won't know when you are in Pretoria or not. Because to you, you are just seeing developed land on top of developed land on top of developed land on both sides of the highway. That highway that connects Johannesburg and Pretoria. And then you wouldn't even know that you technically drove through Midrand. And Midrand were there was a bunch of farms there. And the local authorities in South Africa realized that rural to urban, or the urban population, was growing in Johannesburg and in Pretoria. And obviously, for those of you that don't know, wherever you have a seat of governmental power, for example, like in Pretoria, that's where the president stays. That's where the presidential house is. And Cape Town is the legislative hub of South Africa. Because in Cape Town, they've got the parliament. And in Pretoria, they've got the State House, or as they call it, the Presidential Palace, because it actually looks like a palace, more like a palace than actually a State House facility. This technically means that South Africa is one of the few countries on the planet that has two cities as the capitals of its country. But what I'm explaining to you is the South Africans already knew back in the 70s and the 60s that they would have booming populations around their urban centers. And they've got multiples. Namibia, we are now only seeing the actual evidence since 2023 coming this way. We are now grasping with this reality. Because before 2020, up until the 2011 census, if you guys remember, rural populations were more than urban populations. Since 2023, we've now established it's a 50-50 split. That 50-50 split technically is continuously translating into more rural community members moving to urban communities, urban centers. Now, looking at this holistic picture, and since this abattoir, for example, the one in Katima, is based in or close to Katima, and when Dobson referenced the meat processing plant that would facilitate for canning and other particular packaging solutions of, the red meat products, you also get a different dimension specific to understand and to know that more jobs, more investment technically translates or culminates or is illustrated with a meat processing plant coming about. But it's whether or not we actually understand the assignment at hand. Do Namibians on the ground understand the assignment? You need to continue with the activity. It doesn't matter what's happening in the boardrooms or in the negotiation phases. You need to continue and maintain the activity. Let the activity go on. Because currently, from the correspondence that we've seen here at Eagle FM, it seems like the activity has stalled. It seems like it. It seems like the activity has stalled because,
things are just unfortunately quiet for the Zambezi farmers. If we go down to Marintel, it's obviously based, it seems like operating costs were becoming impossible, untenable. Untenable, okay, not impossible, because, you know, you obviously know that you need money to pay for the expense. So, what was the pricing strategy? What was the marketing ability? What was the sort of like demand factor? Was it diminishing? Was it fluctuating? Because a pricing strategy reflects your costs. I will say this again to anyone, whether you already have the business or not, whether you're planning to open up a business or not, please, in the basics of this game, which is not a game, which is life, know your costs. Don't thumbsuck a cost. You will run into complications when a customer sees you thumbsucked a cost. When you pulled it out of the veins, the major veins of your neck. Please don't thumbsuck it. Prove your costs, not to the customer, to yourself. You just need to have reassurance that you can stand your ground on your price. Because your price, in the basics of the marketing mix, as the 101 that we were showed, your price is the only one of the marketing mix that gets you the money. But before we continue, we're going to take a short break.
Need some help with the groceries this month? Then USave has the competition that is just for you. Every Friday between 1 and 2 p.m., Eagle FM will be giving away a $500 USave voucher. To stand a chance of winning the $500 USave voucher, all you have to do is follow Eagle FM Namibia on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and be on the lookout for the weekly competition question. USave, where good food costs less. Need some help with the groceries this month? Then USave has the competition that is just for you. Every Friday between 1 and 2 p.m., Eagle FM will be giving away a $500 USave voucher. To stand a chance of winning the $500 USave voucher, all you have to do is follow Eagle FM Namibia on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and be on the lookout for the weekly competition question. USave, where good food costs less.
limonene yakulolo internet yendelela toitulirwa moshali ove tokupifana tango shimaliwa shifike $1 Namibia omawaveli avali nomathele atano okuja mefiku latetela Aguste fye momafiku 30 Septemba itokapula ufuta oshimaliwa shonumba okutulirwa mweyakulolo engenge owelishangifa kontrakta keshe yo Pirates Fiber ile Skyfi ototulirwa mweyakulo lipelo internet kupifa fyo $1 Namibia omawaveli avali nomathele atano omeumbo ilo mongeshefa eyakulo olinongushu talela po pirates.africa/Namibia nde tolishangifa nena.
We come back there from the extended break, and you are here on your number one talk radio station, that being Eagle FM, and this is the Unpacking the Day, with yours truly, that being me, Dwight, on, what seems to be a very weird Monday, but it's a new week, as we heard, Kanchengo citing. Obviously, it depends on, for you, where your new week actually starts on, whether it's a Sunday or whether it's a Monday. We all know that it technically ends on a Saturday or Friday, you know, just hint, 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 hint. On pricing, I saw if you look at a channel, a supply channel or distribution channel of a product, I saw firsthand how key pricing is. The slightest miscalculation could lead to you technically either overpricing and the customer recognizing this overpricing, or to you underpricing and the customer also recognizing underpricing? Now, to the average consumer out there, I know we love a bargain. I know we technically would, in an ideal world, want everything for free. But the reality is obviously a stark difference from that ideal aspiration or ambition. Reason being is, and I'm not going to use the political terms like capitalism, socialism, goederse. No, I'm just talking about basic commercial activity, which is as old as humanity's earliest civilizations. Basic commercial activity dictates, I give you money for the identified price. Or, when it was still bartering, I give you something of equal value for the thing you wish to offer. Something of equal value. The exchange has to take place. You don't go into the weird things or the weird worlds of stock exchanges and markets, because I will tell you straightforward, it is convoluted with unknown unknowns to such a level that it makes the ordinary person just basically not wish to participate in it. And I'm not even citing the local NSX. I'm citing the weird things that are happening on global indices in the Northern Hemisphere. For example, how stock buybacks is now a rampant activity. Do you know what a stock buyback is? If you know that your company is publicly traded on a stock exchange and you go and apply for a loan at one of your country's major financial institutions and they give the cash incentive, you take that cash incentive and you go buy more stocks of your company on the stock exchange, thus inflating the value of the stocks in order to give you a bigger cash incentive as an executive in the company at the end of every financial year. That sounds completely perverse, but it happens. It happens. It happens in the US, it happens in the UK, and it happens in the EU. It also happens in Japan. Stock buybacks have become the order of the day, which technically means, and which I've long told everybody, specifically here on Eagle FM, a stock exchange is not a reflection of your economy. Forget about that thing. But when you go look at your pricing strategy, and I've seen it in the retail sector, your price carries the costs of your water and electricity, your internet provider, your salaries and wages, your services for your fleet of vehicles, your insurance, your loan that needs to be repaid, or loans if there are multiples, because some established businesses, whether they are small or community or family level, and large corporations have multiple financial facilities that they pay off. Your pension, which is part of the salaries and wages, but pension, because we have to split it away. Your taxes. There are multiple of these taxes. Your planned investment strategy for the business to take the business to the next level. All these things, and these are 9 things I mentioned. 9 different expenses. Loaded. If you're manufacturing the stock, has to carry that cost. If you are buying the stock to put it on a shelf in your business, that's also the cost. Or if you are basically buying and reselling, because you can be a distributor as well. This last 10 dimensions of costs, meaning your business leaking money externally, and you only have one mechanism to recuperate all that cost. One mechanism known as a price. Now, I know in article writing, blog writing, knowledge sharing dimensions, people usually structure, content from introduction. You start off slow and then you build up to the nitty-gritties, which would be towards the end of a document or of said particular content. We obviously in media we are taught to do the upside down pyramid, meaning you start with the attention grabbing and then you cascade downwards to the not so important. Now, why the inverted pyramid obviously exists as a writing strategy is because in the content production realm, you have to be as attention grabbing as possible. That's also why the streaming and streamers and these other gig economy jobs and engagements obviously speak towards attention grabbing, which could be in many cases mis and disinformation entirely, are such a successful hit specifically in how the new generations are consuming content. Because they would rather go for an explainer like what I'm doing than go and look at a TV channel, and just because they can see that the news TV channel is probably lying to them, because that's one of the motivations that they always cite. They don't trust the media. Not in Namibia. I don't know. In Namibia, anyone younger than me, they don't have a clear sort of like articulation of why they don't absorb as much media content as possible. That's sort of like the basis of Namibian media future, because you can see a completely stark reality in terms of that anyone younger than 30 is probably lost in the great matrix of information. Now, when we obviously look at a pricing strategy, you've got to develop a pricing strategy that reflects the quality of your products and the costs involved in processing, considering the factors such as market demand, competitive pricing, and production costs. You've got to offer competitive pricing that can help attract customers and build a loyal client base. This obviously comes from the platform, as I mentioned, Kent, what's his name? Kent Master, which is a South African company that produces abattoir equipment. On that note, we've got still a good 20 minutes before we end. On that note, please understand, guys, there is a discussion that operates in the economy besides fear-mongering and mudslinging. It's a discussion on, are things feasible in this country? Are things feasible? I gave a reference back in last week on the home run specifically to the most crucial time frame that businesses or entities need to survive. The farmers, obviously in Zambezi, are concerned because they saw something working in front of their eyes. They saw something working. And obviously with the transition since 2 July, their fears, which is technically also assumptions, are running rampant in their mind. I'm not saying that they are mentally unstable. I'm not saying that. But this is what happens if you don't communicate adequately or properly. People jump to conclusions. They think their worst fears are becoming reality. And instead of, adequately interrogating, well, they obviously, with the letter writing and the correspondence that we've seen, they've done that part. But when you got to look at, okay, let's see what the next strategy is, you then realize, okay, these might be the biggest factors of contributing to the current situation. Let's own up to the reality.
Meatco has the potential to enter into an activity. They can go and borrow the money, or they can take it out of their cash flow, and they can start up the endeavor. Let's identify that. Let's identify also, like what Dobson outlined, is primarily Meatco didn't have to give over money to Zamco. Zamco has to come up with its own money. But they've had in more than enough time to plan for this phase, which is the particular concern that the farmers are facing now. The concern for the farmers are what's going on. We want reassurance. And obviously, from what I could see from the Marintal dimension, usually why costs or ballooning costs closes down something is first and foremost there was a conflict popping up between the consumer or the consumer market or the customer base and the producers. The producers wanted a certain price, and the consumer or the customer base was like, well, not in this reality. We're not going to entertain you in this reality. We've got to remember this, guys, because some of the key things that you can see emerging, specifically like in the private sector, is affordability dimensions. It's one of the key reasons why I always would ask at like these ECB engagements regarding electricity tariff increases. And if it's one based upon a dimension, you always ask the question, did you guys do an affordability assessment? What is your change based on? People, there is no politics in a price. There is no mudslinging in a price. A price is straightforward. Can you afford the price? Yes or no? Did you communicate the price? Yes or no? Is the price reflective of costs of said entity procure or providing said service to said consumer base? Yes or no? How is it cost reflective? What are the input costs? And the ECB and NamPower guys, they do lovely PowerPoint presentations. I like those things. You guys are probably the best at doing your PowerPoint presentations. I'm not being sarcastic. It's just I like your PowerPoint presentations. City of Windhoek's electricity department as well. I like your PowerPoint presentations as well, usually when it comes to that engagement, because you guys actually show up with all the figures. You don't come there with a word that says, this is our cost equals oops. You actually show a PowerPoint that shows your calculations. You're like, awesome, nice. Now I get to understand. We have to look at these things from commercial activities. Commercial activities are things governed by agreements. Governed by agreements. And I'm glad there's a dimension that we know of. The other concern is obviously the way ahead. The way ahead. Here's the key thing, guys. As we obviously look forward in terms of the rest of this year, where are we? August. Currently, right now, we're going to get into the other side of this year. The other side that is usually, this week apparently is the oil and gas conference taking place. So that's another particular, what can I call it? Attention distractor. I'll be honest with you guys about that particular event specifically. It unless they announce
or they do what the former petroleum, I don't know if she's still petroleum commissioner, Madam Maggie Shino. The thing that she was doing, prior to last year, because I didn't pay attention to last year's oil and gas conference, but up until 2024, she kept announcing, gas to power, exciting gas to power, and I was like, where is this thing coming? Where is it? When is it coming? So, unless they go and announce something over the top, it'll just be another, attention-grabbing situation. But we've got to understand, until things reach economies, markets, consumers, we will start seeing the price per unit. We will start seeing the production. We will start seeing the actual nitty-gritties within an activity. And to listen to someone coming and telling us about the resource curse, I will tell you today, Namibia is already in the resource curse. We are bogged down by things like maladministration. We are bogged down by things of, for example, lack of consumer appetite, which technically is drenched a lot within consumers' ability to buy and to sustainably buy regularly. We also face natural geographic barriers across this country, because if I can brag all I want about the quality of meat below the red line, but the distances between urban centers, which are markets, are too severe. 300 kilometers between Okahanja and Otjiwarongo. And then there's another 200 kilometers to Tsumeb to Grootfontein. It is ugly. It is ugly, those distances. From Grootfontein to Rundu, it is ugly. From Rundu to Katima, it is ugly. The distances are ugly. What do you think the petrol costs would be to be channeling meat up and down the country? What do you think the petrol inputs would be? The petrol cost inputs would be on a kilogram of red meat throughout the rest of Namibia. It is ugly. Which technically means, and technically, reinforces my my concern that petroleum is becoming an unsustainable resource. We're now seeing it. Iran is using it against us Namibia, that didn't do anything to Iran, but we know that Iran is technically making a calculated move against the global economy because they wish to break the US dollar. That is the reason. If you're going to ask me, Dwight, how did you jump from Katima and Marintal to Iran? Exactly that, because you can see it. You can see it. I still have to read the latest CPI feedback that the NSA gave, just to understand and just to be abreast of core concerns and developments. But you and I know what the latest CPI factor would outline. Petrol costs, meaning transport costs, have become a great factor. A factor which is the biggest contributor to inflationary pressures on the consumer price index. Straightforward. No rocket scientist needed. No maverick economist needed to describe that situation to you. Every person can see basic economics manifesting in front of their eyes.
across the world, wherever you are, in your communities, even in your back pocket, even at school, you can see economics manifesting. We get a sense, dear listeners, that, and even with the contributions coming through from the colleagues, or not the colleagues, basically from my two on-air guests, losing potential or losing potential production of something is never a good thing. But all I hope for in many cases, and this is just a plea, is primarily that, a positive outcome is achieved. Look, we all know specifically that until a hydrogen vehicles are produced and that there's a hydrogen fueling strategy similar to the petroleum or the diesel and petrol refueling strategy in Namibia, unfortunately diesel and petrol will currently stay the benchmark for the current transportation in Namibia. We can't move past this fact because it's a fact. This fact is obvious. This fact is the biggest fact that technically tells us, you know what, you can't move past this point. There's nowhere else. Now, yes, managing costs, managing a price are the two most micro dimensions of running an enterprise, whether you are a state-owned company and whether you are a government ministry or a ministry dimension, or whether you are a household, or even when you are a church. You have to manage costs, and if you have a product to sell or a product to make, you've got to have a pricing strategy which is sound, which is secure, which can give you the return on investment you want every financial year. Every financial year. You guys that are now currently on university, that have gone to university, that have attained your 3-year degrees, diplomas, qualifications, whatnot, and whatever you have there, now you guys have got to apply that input into this economy. Help your elders understand a pricing strategy. If they are yawning in that PowerPoint presentation, make it fun for them, include an activity, let them stretch, let blood circulation work, stimulate the brain, and then you sit them down again and you present the PowerPoint presentation again. Because we've got to avoid scenarios like the two we've just discussed and dissected. We've got to avoid these scenarios. We've got to avoid these scenarios. How would you feel if you were part of that 57 staff members at that abattoir in Katima? You're not producing anything. You don't see you continuing with your with the basic activity of, firstly, slaughtering, wild livestock, because you're not procuring livestock to feed the system. The moment you see no such activity, you are worried as an employee. You are worried. Because an employee sees it before a customer sees it. And an employee sees it before a supplier sees it. The supplier would ask, now why are you not buying this month from me, Dwight? Then you would get like a flaky answer, it's neither there or here, and it's neither clear and, understandable. It's just an answer that it looks like an answer that was just given. An answer that just said, no, just wait. Hou vast eers. Wag net. We'll come back to you. Now, that's an answer that doesn't tell you here or there, up or down, left or right. It just says, be there. Just stay there. With such a particular flaky response, obviously, you'd also be asking questions. Not that I'm saying that's the actual flaky response that was given to the farmers specifically in Zambezi by Zamco. I'm not saying that. But the correspondence that I read does seem to project such a flaky response or flaky level of communication. So said level of flakiness does seem to exude through the communication and correspondence that we cited a little bit earlier in this morning. So said flakiness is our bookmark. Whereas the Marintal abattoir has one significant sentence. It has got 4 paragraphs, I think 5 to be exact. 5 paragraphs. One profound sentence. Our costs have become untenable. Our costs have become untenable. Now, for the Zambezi guys, one of the reassuring things in the last 2 minutes, in the last minute I've got, is you didn't possibly hear of any contract cancellation to supply. Not to the abattoir, to a market. So that means your customers are still probably there. There's a base you can still work from. Technically, Zamco doesn't own the abattoir, but it has a lease to run the abattoir. So financial obligations are like within a limitation. There is some room for maneuvering. And I'm going to compare that against the Marintal situation. The farmers in Marintal are actually losing out. A facility is closing down. Mode of income is going to be impeded. The customers are there. But it's all about how do you invest in a mechanism that supplies the customers. Remember this. How do you invest in a mechanism to get it functioning and operational again to supply the customers? But on that note, dear listeners, it does bring us up to the end for this morning's edition of the Unpacking the Day here on your number one talk radio station. This has been the Unpacking the Day, as I mentioned. Me in your company, Dwight. Stay tuned for the rest of the programming in our company right after the ad break. And you can catch me later on the home run.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
lipuranengelo wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondudu toingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe
omutiha gutekera otaguna iimatina omjo chikao shafasana na nongeshefa ya ishiwike moshiwana iye moyawo otaingongotisa mwene anangeshefa ya Namibia ompito ombwana wa onjika seisanina omayakuro niranditomwa ye yongeshefa yoyo kupitiramo Eagle FM Media House ngoe twenditiinomeha ukakombanga nena kara omukwashipareki wimepo yomo programa detu moambo lengera selma onora hetatu imwe ndatu heari hamano tano oneaji Eagle FM the eye.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-2888-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
No matter where you are, if you have a mobile...
natupandule duwaita wetu pembako ngashinga olilimo makea na Rwanda o shilongo sha Mengera onkunda wa Limbo n'oludi loko hango ya Indongo nandipandulu nene ongola yonena noneno hatukatala koshi kumungusha bashikingalo tamono ihuna omanga inandiako bashikingalo nandi kwafero imanga ndipo pife o mandengu wetu ko muziro ngakwa to shilongo sha Ndonga ya Nangolo iya shashingengi natu ya popifanena ai o tulina inengono tuole ngatu bakundu okuku o wetu etapo donge nengi natu batonga aya tukaramujo o ndiwete kucha neno watu kapopse bashikingalo tabamono ihuna mo Namibia unenenge tashiamo itoporwa yabo omoto wange muno inyanga darwa pamwe malandi filo ndano taka Kongo banu konje osho tashikwa kwa mekeyo no umbudi medoropa de tushashinena ngengo atuli mili amepya lambule tunde hite idipo kanda iyeke komo umbo kucha hite idipo shipala iyeke komo umbo omanga shoshe twili mashotili mumbu atusonjala watele no taini ilia tukalina tuningiro boloka ngaipi itatuti o mali udashike o unene twatalela potara idife ngwe diva o motulia kalimo ya bamo ngwe diva demetara idife o moshwano tashikwena o tunashikingalo ngashoyo mahai ta monongi huna fresh family dakarango digwetere pongwe diva unona bashona kangwe sana ntadiko ni mako unantavimbi velingamo ningono kwa ngwe divamo o suiti na Namibia bajanga pendola po top 10 o nde anwa ngwatale mushono ndo ngwe divamo ito bamo nomo omorwa shikembela o onu takufa tokatala anu ko maumbo shashingeno wakufila babo mongwe diva nandeto weda movenya o kala ne uli nawa tokala uli nawa shashi o okukala kwe imali wato yanjo te ilandwa ike mangameni longwe diva mushasho moke na nala patayo motakala mongwe diva taridi feke mangashi wempo shimali watasapota nalo anangeshefa kwa voveli omo imali wato ipente kulike lelo langwe diva eshita picho mona tango mongulo kukeke mestola de todili mongwe diva utaka futo meae utani ngishike nenanga olo ne humifo komeshoro doropa ongene mo peifenga utashikunyenge unene o onkalo angwe divo twatara kongano tuweteko nande mkwetu mwache ngwe divo epangelo yoshilongo nde inatukala nande yatupopiko twakala ngatwa tara kucha mbero morwashike shina kukalela ngapo amweta shishenjengo pamweta shishenjengo ngo atale mo mefikule